well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Public Awareness Personnel and Policy Committee for the Vallecitos Water District, Monday, April the 3rd, 2023 at 10 a.m. We are meeting in the upper conference room. The meeting is being recorded. Do we have any members of the public present?
No, ma'am.
No members. Okay, then we will just jump right in. Okay, items for discussion, climate action plan update, old business.
Yes, and I do have a great update for that. I talked
great.
to Vincent Jan with
Oh,
the
good.
Santa Clara Valley Water District. He was very gracious and spent over an hour of time with me. So I really
Wow,
appreciate
okay.
it. We had some commonality. He actually came from Orange County, so he knew some of the people I knew in the same circle. So he's one of the directors up there. So Santa Clara Valley Water District is a wholesale agency like Metropolitan. They serve down here. I forgot how many millions of people, but they have no retail customers. I think 1.8 million people is what they serve. They have a staff of 900. So they're different than we are, but for them, there's a lot of different avenues. They're in charge of groundwater. They're in charge of the East Bay. They're in the eastern side of the southeast side of the Bay of the San Francisco Bay, and that whole kind of metropolitan area. So they're in charge of groundwater. They're in charge of salt intrusion barriers to keep and as seawater rises, there's more salt intrusion, which reduces their groundwater basin. So they have a very vested interest in it. They're also in charge of all the mitigation banks for wet weather mitigation, for wetland mitigations. So all the mitigation banks and environmental banks in that area, and they get environmental credits for it. So he made it clear that this wasn't a cap, a CAP, but they call it a C cap. So it's not something that is actually they're bound to, but it's still a beneficial document. We had a pretty good comparisons, and I like kind of what they did. He was actually disappointed in his document. He said that about 2 years in, he had to get involved. He wasn't originally involved in it to give it direction because they had a lot of talented, exciting staff working on it from the environmental group, the flood control group, because they also do flood management. They own lakes. They own several different lakes and water treatment plants, and they also are river stewards in their area. So every group had their action, and before you knew it, the climate action plan was thousands of pages big.
It kept growing, still
Kept
creeping.
growing, yeah, but it was internal. It was internal by the staff. When I asked him about the cost of it, his reaction was, "I don't want to know the cost of it."
Okay. Okay.
But that being said, he was clear there's no requirement for them to do it. They did it because of their vested interest in seawater rising, and they're mainly stream and river stewardship portions of their business, including the flood control portion of their business, not directly really for the water. For them, since they're a wholesaler like Metropolitan or CWA, there's a little bit of that, but not as much. But they do own solar, they own some power generation and so on and so forth.
So that's similar to us a little bit as well.
Yes, definitely. And then basically I asked him, for an agency like ours, what was his level of thought? And he said, well, if you have clear direction, it's about probably a full-time staff member for about a year. But it'll probably take more than a year. And it'll be one full-time staff member won't be working on it the whole time. But he said that's very what did he say? It's very optimistic of me to think so. I think those his exact words. So because there'll be big lifts from different departments to provide information, and then of course it ebbs and flows. But he said basically about a full-time staff person is probably could do it for a small agency like ours. That being said, I read through all their executive summaries and their intro, and I thought, which was handled, I think, by their marketing department, and I thought that was very well put together. After he told me about his document, his opinion of the document kind of being kind of a mess, I went through and started looking at the document. And I see what he said. He basically, at the end of it, almost his words, not mine, he got to the point where he said, you have this many pages, figure out how to cut it down. I mean, he got to that point because it was so the document itself isn't well pulled together, but I think they said there was work on it for almost 3 to 4 years and different staff members going in and out. So it was quite an ordeal for them. But the benefit for them, they're not tied to it. It's a living document. They're moving forward, but what they're doing is they're having trouble with the implementation portion. He said,
Okay,
the-
what kind of?
well, both implement and timing. He said that they're not tied to it since it's not a cap, so there's no penalty.
Mhm.
So it's not something that they have to really worry about, but the actual execution of their goals is not coming to fruition at this point. It doesn't mean it won't, it doesn't mean it can't. They're looking at revamping their document maybe in the future at, I'm gonna try and meet up with him at Aqua. He's gonna be there
Oh, yeah.
to talk a little bit more about it. To get a little bit more idea, because the time that we had gave me kind of a broad overview and I'm gonna try and dig into it more on our end. Because we do a lot of good things. We have solar, we're looking at, obviously fleet electrification, which is not only required for us to look at, but we're also looking at it in more than one avenue through the student group, but also through our consultant, because there's different components that we have to pull together. So there's a lot of things we can almost kind of check the box on and put into a document, which is
Already,
already
that
is
doesn't
good.
require, we
Yeah.
just have to sort of consolidate it, and
So-
I think that's where we start, right?
Yeah, and that's where they started. That's where
Yeah.
they started. So that's more of a kind of I don't have a good term for it, almost like an inventory.
Mhm.
And process is the part that they really, that was the kind of the easy part. The part about the climate action plan that was hard is what do you do moving forward? Now, I think with fleet electrification, we have some of those guidelines and we will in the next months to a year, because we have budget in, it's not approved, but next fiscal year's budget to basically leverage what we get hopefully from the students and make it and go with a consultant to do the next level with the actual state required requirements for what electrification will be. We already have solar, we've already done, we're working with Terra Verde, it'll be the same consultant most likely. We've already done some analysis and work on that. On the solar, photoelectric side, getting panels. And then we're also doing some additional work. The rest of it for us is pretty straightforward. We already, in our design guidelines, use the most efficient pumps possible for water delivery systems. And we're uniquely, the people before me did a great job of planning. So we put all of our major infrastructure up at Twin Oaks reservoirs. We feed 80% of our people, our customers, by gravity. So we have very little pumping that's necessary, which is very unique for most agencies. For example, when here at Vallecitos, we have, I forgot, don't quote me on this, but something like 7 or 8 different pump zones. Might be up to 9 now with little tiny neighborhood pump zones. And we have 30 something pressure reducing stations. So we take gravity, it's basically cut down the pressure because we have too much pressure already, because we put all of our systems at a high elevation up in Twin Oaks. When I was down at Otay, they had 9 pressure reducing stations and 30 something pump stations,
Okay,
because they got everything because they're at the end of the pipe, so everything was at low and they had to pump up. So we've taken advantage of that really well. I think that's something that we could definitely state on how our system's laid out and how it benefits our customers, because we only have a certain amount of pump zones. Definitely, I think one of the things I look forward to probably is starting putting together inventory. As far as their level of effort, I want to talk to them some more, because their level of effort is definitely something that we don't have the staff for. But I think looking at and maybe working with Chris's group on, I know. Well, we'd have to gather the information, but saying here's kind of what we do already is something that can be accomplished. It still take effort, take time, and it's be something that we probably look at hopefully in the new fiscal year. But anything beyond that would really require consultant help and not only that, dedication of staff time to manage that consultant. So.
yeah, I wonder, I forget the name of the consultant that I spoke with months and months ago. about-
Recon environmental.
Thank you.
Yeah, matter of fact, we work with them all the time. Because
Okay.
both, that's what I met with first, and we, in our North County Recycle Water Coalition that we get grant funded to. Rosalind is the main recon environmental person who is the client service manager for that we work with. And then I forgot the gentleman's name. I want to say Michael, but I could be wrong about that. That
Mhm.
gave the presentation at the conference.
I wonder, because I think at some point in the very near future, all of the water agencies are going to have to they're going to have to develop something like this.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that it's coming. I wonder if since we're trying to get ahead of it a little bit, I wonder if the consultant would be willing, if we partnered with another agency that's similar in scope and size to ours. And if there would be economies, like if we partnered with a Lemonade or something like that.
Possibly, I could ask about that. I got a feeling it won't be much because each agency will need to account for what they do
Mhm.
and account for what they use as
Mhm.
far as electricity or gas, basically greenhouse gas
Mhm.
producing items individually and basically, for example, we have a lot of solar credits. We have the big solar generation that we have up in Twin Oaks. We're not gonna combine our credits and give some of that to Lebanon, so now for water use, we do that for our urban water management plans. We partner with Lebanon and Santa Fe Irrigation District.
Mhm.
And
And
there's
the
some,
consultant puts that together and
No, we-
gives a break or?
we do it, we do it.
Okay.
Yeah, but we do that, we do that with a consultant, and the only reason we do that is there is an advantage to that, because that's based on gallons per capita per day. So Santa Fe uses a lot of gallons per capita per day. Because they have, big mansions out in Rancho Santa Fe.
Yes,
And
they do.
and Lebanon uses more than we do because they have a mixture, but they have some big houses out in Lebanon. And we are more basically single family residential driven type of use. So they use our numbers to help bring down their numbers, and we use their numbers to help bring up our numbers, because the way the state law on urban water management plans are, it's based on a rolling average over a certain time period. So you have to try and meet your goals individually. But you also can meet your goals as a kind of a region.
Mhm.
So that's why there's a partnership there. There's an advantage. I could try to look into it, but I don't believe there's anything set up for that on the climate action side yet.
What if, sort of thinking along the same lines, San Diego County Water Authority has a climate action plan. I wonder if they would be willing to either, help us with money, help us with staff. In some way to try to promote all of their agencies developing climate action plans, because that would be kind of a feather in their cap too, if all of their agencies are climate action plans. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of how we could work together, because there's no reason for all of us to have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, well, one of the things, and I don't know, that's a good question, because I haven't talked to them at all yet about their plan. I kind of looked at it, but I hadn't had a chance. One of the things I do know is they account for all the water production use within San Diego County. So in other words, it's done globally, so it's not as accurate. They don't know our exact things. So for example, the city of San Marcos Climate Action Plan has all of our employees, route, return trip time, the back and forth to work and back time accounted for in their climate action plan. If we end up doing a fuel climate action plan sometime in the future, we would take that. It'd be a double counting for that, although that may be irrelevant. So I have no idea if that's significant or not. The other portion of it is there's general guidelines for water delivery and the amount of greenhouse gases produced per gallon delivered that the city of San Marcos uses. The water authority does the same thing, but they do a little bit more accuracy because they understand what they're pumping and how much is pumped compared to what is being fed by gravity. So they account for all, basically, since we're 100% water authority water, directly or indirectly, because even our water from Lebanon is water authority raw water that Lebanon actually just treats for us. So we pay the water authority raw water for that, and we pay Lebanon just treatment costs. So
And even the desal water?
is water authority, yeah,
Okay.
is water. So the water authority basically directly and indirectly accounts for 100% of our water delivery costs and the greenhouse gases that are associated with that. In their climate action plan.
Well, that's great news because that's work we don't have to do.
Yeah.
Because we can just lift what they've already done.
That's what I'm getting at. So that's already kind of done. So there's no real work there, but there's also no real benefit because if we do the same, it's basically the stating what they're stated already. But I don't know if they're a full app document that's been like environmentally vetted, or they just did it to be good stewards.
Mhm.
And it's just a document that's kind of a document they look at as here's kind of our future goals. Either way, it's a good thing. But I don't know what they did with it, and that's should be probably my next call to see kind of what they did under document.
Okay.
Metropolitan did something similar, and I did talk to somebody at Metropolitan initially. I didn't realize CWA had one, and their document accounts for all the deliveries from Colorado River, from Northern California. The water authority document spends a lot of time on what their IID transfer water, the energy it costs to deliver that water. So they have some significant costs that are different than ours. Matter of fact, all these wholesale agencies do, because they're bringing water from 400 miles away or 200 miles away, and it's not all gravity. So
Yeah, no kidding. Okay.
So, just to recap the conversation here, if I'm understanding correctly. Conversation, ongoing exploration, ongoing, sounds very expensive to do the full climate action plan, and perhaps both repetitive and will need to be redone once it becomes mandatory, potentially. Alternative could be an executive summary recap of everything that we've done already, a much shorter, more in your face. We do 80% gravity, electrification of the fleet, solar generation, staff office best practices for this, and then recounting of the existing greenhouse gases and stuff that other reports have done that are relevant to us. So
that's
general.
yes, that's generally true. When I talked to Vincent over at this Valley Water District, Santa Clara Valley Water District, that's where they're getting some good PR, not only PR, but also kind of direction when they say, here's all the good things that we do in their executive summary, and it's going out there. This is how this not only is good for the environment, it's the right thing to do, but also good for the ratepayer.
Yep.
And
it's a stepping stone.
Yeah, but they have a what they call a CCAP.
Yeah.
I don't know what the first C stands for, so don't ask me, but they do have a CCAP. And they're trying to use it as a cap, but they're having trouble.
The C in the C cap is essentially making it non-binding. Is that?
Yeah, he said they didn't do it because of requirements, but they did it because they had a lot of direct impact from future seawater rise that not only impacts it. For example, an example is they're stewards of different streams and rivers, and they're responsible for the wetlands and the wetland mitigation.
Yeah.
If they plant wetland mitigation plants that are a certain type of species in the marshes and stuff where it floods, right now they get obviously offset environmental credit for other things they do, because those are carbon sequestering type plants. But as seawater rises, those plants will all die because the salinity of that marsh will go up. And that's a huge deal for them because they're responsible for that. They have a endowment and a responsibility to, I don't know if it's to perpetuity or not. So there is, his words, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of liability. So they're trying to work with the regulators right now to say, hey, can we plant more saline tolerant plants and get the same credit? And they're hearing no, because that's not what's in there currently. So they're trying to figure out, well, we don't want to plant this plant and then 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 years later, what is $100 million today will be whatever hundreds of millions of dollars tomorrow. Have to replant because they have to do it. They didn't do an actual see an actual capital action plan document that there's, because they feel like there's too much liability for them on that. But they have completely different agency. They have water district in their name, but they're a wholesale of 900 people. They have all these different businesses that we don't have.
Different organization, different motivations.
Yes, different motivations, and there's definitely a reason for them. He fully understands, as it was pointed out by Treasurer Boyd Hodgson, that it's going to become mandatory. So he's hoping that they can leverage some of this work, but he's saying that most of it is going to just go into the recycle. When it becomes mandatory. But that's still different than us.
You know, my hope is that by trying to be proactive, that we don't do a lot of things that are gonna go in the recycle bin, and I don't think we will, because this is stuff that we are already doing, that we have been trying to be proactive about already. So I wonder if there is, you know, if we can sort of boil down what the next steps would be. It sounds like, you know, taking an inventory first. Secondly, is deciding if we want it to be binding or not, and what the implications are for that. And then we can direct the conversation. If we decide that it is binding, then we can make sure that what's in the plan gives us flexibility for what may arise with regulation that we can't predict, or with you know, just changing budgets. I'm not interested in us making a document that we can't use, or that we have to redo.
Yep.
Or that is so expensive and so time intensive for staff. I'm interested in getting ahead of this and leveraging what we've already done, and starting the process so that we can be a leader in this regard. And I really don't like double work. I really don't. As a mother of 4 that does a lot of double work, you know, I don't like it in my household, and I certainly don't want staff here to be doing it. There may be some with coming regulations that we just can't predict, but if we can sort of think about what kind of document we would want based on what we know is coming, but also we have to be flexible about when.
Well, I definitely think, I mean, when we put some budget in, we may need a little bit of consultant help to kind of pull it together, whether it's one of Chris's consultants or one of engineering consultants. I gotta come up with a better name for it, but we could probably put like a climate action inventory or something together. And it basically is, here's what we do. Here's what we do already, and maybe put a little bit of money in the budget. We'll see how the budget comes out. You know, I know that we'll have another budget committee meeting soon where we have some of these things more detailed out, including capital. Although this wouldn't be capital, so we put in the operating budget. And then from there, keep an eye on regulation, keep an eye on what everybody else is doing, but already have that 1 foot in. To not only, and as we put those information together, what I'm hoping, I don't know if this is true, is organically, maybe there's some clear cut things or clear cut things that make sense, or why are we doing this? We can start identifying those things. There may be nothing when we put it together, maybe more of just that inventory and you know, basically having the conversation of here's what we do already. At least that's a start. And my understanding from talking to Rosalind is that really is the start. What do you do already? And we could maybe leverage like the CWA document and the city of San Diego's document to look at those average greenhouse gas emissions for delivery of water or something like that, and start comparing those to, is that reasonable? Do we have better information that could refine those numbers? That may be a second step. And I think, you know, over time we can get there. Then my real hope is we can roll this into our future programmatic EIR, AB 32 and SB, I forgot the SB state code number, is really where the greenhouse gas stuff, kind of the rubber hits the road for water agencies. And I already know that there's more pressure on that from the state level to expand the scope. So when I started doing master plan documents back when I was at Otay Water District, there was no AB 32 or SB There weren't no assembly or state bills that required water agencies to account for greenhouse gases. And then I forgot in the early 2000s, they started it, and at first it was just a paragraph. That's all we had to do was just acknowledge it. In the last document, it was a couple pages, because they were private, and then the next document I already know will now be a whole chapter. And within that chapter, this is, I firmly believe with water agencies, it may not be called a cap, because that's really specific to land use agencies, like cities and counties. But there will be something that is similar that's going to come through those amendments of those bills that will essentially be kind of like a climate action plan. Where we take into account our temporary impacts on construction or water delivery impacts, and look at the offsetting things that we do or how we can reduce them, and those will be kind of within there. That master plan document is gonna move forward. We're gonna have budget in it, at least now, maybe a placeholder budget waiting for Sandag and the city. But even if the city does not move forward with adopting a general land use, a new general plan. As soon as the Sandag releases new population growth numbers, that's nexus enough for us to move forward with at least an updated master plan. So what you do is there's what they call a supplemental programmatic EIR and a full EIR, and then also a supplemental master plan or full when both land use and population changes. And there's changes significant enough to justify, you do a full new document. When one changes, but the other one really doesn't change, or the changes aren't significant, you do a supplemental document, which changes your timing, your assumptions, and you get to take into account all the new state and federal, or maybe state for us, rules and regulations. And you roll that in for a new document.
Okay.
So.
If I understand that part correctly, you're suggesting as part of the future master plan to do a lot of this work in it.
Yeah, but that doesn't discount the
To prevent
upfront work.
redundancy.
Yeah, to
Okay.
do the upfront work on some of the
Inventory.
inventory work, and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
some of the PR work on what we do well already.
Yep.
And then,
So that's separate, that's inventory summary, executive summary, whatever you want to call it, and then the stuff you were describing as part of a master planning would be
it'd be
forward
more,
looking.
Yep. Or look at what can we
Planning
do to reduce our footprint? What do we do? What can we do better? What are the actionable items? And I think that's where we could eliminate any possibility of double work, but still have something that we can produce budget approval depending next fiscal year that will show at least we do a lot of good things already. We just don't advertise them. So basically advertise them. I mean, we do advertise them, but we don't advertise them in a document, or there's not. Right. I mean, there are different videos and stuff we've done on the solar panels that actually, I think some of them made, I don't know if any of them were award winners, but everything you guys put out is award winners.
Right, that's right.
So.
Well, and I think that that's key here as well. What you just said, I was thinking of it as you were talking, is that, having a document that we can give to our customers.
Yeah.
Showcasing what we do, I think is important.
Yeah, I think we do a lot of it already, Chris, but we haven't pulled it all together with that focus. So I'm hoping that Chris's group already has a lot of the information, but it's really putting into one spot to look at. Instead of, this is a video about Twin Oaks, this is a video about this thing, this is a information piece or press release about this thing, and so let's put it together into one. So.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, Jade. I'm glad you were able to connect with Vince.
He was a very nice gentleman, I believe.
Yeah, he lives in Vista.
I did not know that.
Commutes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He didn't say
Lives
that.
in
He,
Vista.
he did say he lives south, but
Yeah.
he said he was looking north.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay, well, good. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. It sounds like we're moving along. If you had to capsulize the next steps, what do you think they would be? And what can I do to help to facilitate that?
Well, I think what we'll look at next step is looking to pull together. What does the district already do well? For lack of a better term, we'll come up with a better term and call it climate action or climate inventory or something to that effect. It's not a good name. I don't want to use that name. basically when I mentioned that name, 2 people said find a better name. I just haven't been able to. I was a little distracted. So, and then from there, you're also going to see, even though it's not direct, you're going to see budget in this upcoming fiscal year's budget for the master plan to start the planning process. Because even if the city of San Marcos doesn't move forward, because they were supposed to move forward and they pulled it. So even if they don't move forward, and they do all their land use changes through what they call SPAs, special planning areas instead of general plan. As soon as we get the new sand ag information, which I don't know when, but they're overdue, then we have enough information to start at least a supplemental master plan process.
Climate progress report, climate achievement summary, climate action review, climate actions overview, climate milestones summary.
Email those to us.
Yeah.
Email those to us. Yeah, so. And I think, that's really, it's volunteering little Chris's time here without telling him, so this is the first time he's hearing it. So, but I think between that and engineering's time, it could be a value without a big lift. So, at least that's my hope.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, any other comments or questions about the climate action plan? That we're going to be calling something else? And it
Well,
sounds like we've got some great options.
Yeah, but we'll get there. I think we get there through the master planning process.
Yeah,
And
okay.
so,
Okay, San Marcos Promise Experience Ship, old business.
So we had last week, San Marcos Promise, they asked to do an experience ship with us. They had done one with the city of San Marcos. And sometimes I make the mistake of saying, sure, we'll do that when I haven't really thought it through. City of San Marcos is just much bigger than we are. It's just much vaster than we are. It has a lot more of what I would call reception stations. And so they would have students sit with a receptionist at some of their stations. We don't really have that. I was happy to do this, but weary by the time it was done.
Okay,
Um,
we had 6.
Well, and they had intended, I had limited it to 6,
Okay.
but then 10 students signed
Oh
up
boy.
and they asked, well, can you do 10? And I'm like,
You
again,
didn't want to say.
I didn't want to say no. So I said, sure. Well, people dropped out over time. And it was down to 9 at one point. One student, we don't know what happened to him, never showed.
Oh boy. Okay.
One student wasn't able to make it the first day, I guess. Yeah, I think he was home alone with his sister and he had to take her to the hospital. So
Oh,
he
boy.
missed the first day.
And this was a week.
No, this was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it was 3 days.
Okay.
And when we typically give a tour, it's kind of like a one-day thing and it's easier for us. So the experience ship just doesn't play to our strengths very well.
Okay.
That's what I want to get out of this. When we have an intern, we outfit them with safety equipment. You're going to have this. You're going to go to these different departments week after week after week after week. Here's your stuff. With students, it's different. They're
Because
gonna
of
be
their
different things.
age. Or
Because of their
the
age, but it's
time?
also the fact that I asked Maggie, like, hey, can I get 6 hard hats? I don't have 6 hard hats.
Okay.
Just stuff that I didn't necessarily think all the way through. The other point is that it's spring break for the students, so they're coming here on their spring break, but it's spring break for us too.
Sure.
And we've got managers and supervisors that are gone, and I don't know everybody's schedule. And so I'll call up water ops and say, hey, can you take some students out? And he's like, I can't do it. I got Richie out and I'm going to the dentist that day. I can't help you. And so it makes it difficult. The other side of the difficulty that I just want to share is the students were really shocked.
Oh, okay.
To the point where when you're with them, you almost get exhausted having to carry the conversation yourself.
Okay.
And so that, there was 1 or 2 that were a little more engaging. The one guy that missed the first day, he was an engaging person. But the first day, two of the students that I had, just trying to get them to say anything was really hard. I will tell you that on the third day, those two, at the end of the day, I saw them talking to each other. They're from different schools, they're different nationalities. But I'm realizing, wow, they're finally talking to each other, which is, a good thing. It truly is. But I had feedback from other people that had students that it's like, boy, you're trying to get them, what do you want to see? What do you want to do? I think a certain amount maybe got forced into this by their parents.
I see.
It's hard for me to tell.
It's their spring break.
Yeah, it's their spring break. And maybe mom and dad wants,
It's a one-day thing, all right?
it's 3 days.
3 days. Is it still ongoing?
No, it's over. We
Oh.
did it. We accomplished our mission. But even like the last day, we fed them lunch. So we got lunch, and one guy tells me, I'm fasting, I can't eat that.
Right.
And then another one tells me she just doesn't eat anything. I don't know why.
Okay.
And you don't want to pressure eat a sandwich, so. So there was just awkwardness and strangeness. It got better as it went along. Day 2 was better than day 1.
Yeah.
And day 3 was better than day 2.
Yeah.
And I think they get used to it, okay, here's the routine, here's what we're gonna do. It just was, considering that only really 7 came, the lift, it was a heavy lift for 7 students over a 3-day period. They were here for 4 hours a day, getting them where they needed to go, meeting and exchanging. So 2 hours with this group, 2 hours with this group, switch. It was challenging, and maybe in the summertime it would be better, but it's like one of the students is pursuing a career in animation. You're here at the water district.
I guess how, I know it's affiliated with the San Marcos Promise, but how did we get started with this? How were the students selected, or was it just open to anybody?
I got the email from my son, because he was at San Marcos High School. If
Okay.
they were interested in sign up, it's only limited spacing. So it's
Okay.
just whoever, I don't know how a high school or San Marcos Promise made its decision process based on people who signed up.
I think they did a little first come, first serve.
Okay, yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to give them feedback yet.
But
Okay.
one of the things I think Chris did well, because I was there on Thursday at the end, for the food, of course. And so, no, but he did really well, is portraying that, hey, for our agency in particular, in the next 3 to 5 years, we have 30% of our employees are gonna retire. So we're gonna have this huge drain in you guys, maybe not right away, but are really our future employees. That's the pool, local, good jobs, decent pay, good benefits. You need to consider this.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of the message, I think, at the end that Chris did a good job with, so.
2 candidates really interested in engineering, so they got to spend time with engineering,
Mhm.
and 2 of them really interested in finance,
Okay.
and got to spend time with Wes. And as soon as it was over, the one student emailed me back, well, how do I get in touch with that guy? So
Oh,
Great.
that's
I'm
great.
telling them,
So
here's
these
Wes.
are future potential scholarship applicants
Truly,
and maybe interns.
and the upside of
Chris
of
mentioned that
that
too.
Yeah,
is
good.
sometimes they have a specialty that they want to pursue, and so we'll make the effort to get them that access, but they can't have that access every day for 3 days.
Mhm.
So that's just the challenge is some of them are maybe disinterested in the other activity that they're
Sure.
participating in. So
Is it
um,
easier for the more administrative roles than the field roles this time around?
a little, although construction inspection turned out to be pretty good. I think
Okay.
that was really good.
Yeah.
The downside of that one was it was a rainy day, and so that limits a lot of the construction, just kind of gets shut down on the rainy day. So they were able to go out, but probably not able to see the specific activity that they wanted. They spent some time with collections, wastewater collections. It was a rainy day, and if it had been a deluge day, they wouldn't have been able to do that. We've had some issues with, infiltration into the wastewater system. And they would have to go deal and not be able to do it. And then I'm stuck trying to, figure out where I'm gonna have them go.
Mhm.
So it was challenging. I just don't think it plays to our strength. It's easier for us to do like big group tours on one day than it is for us to do these little small groups.
It's also,
over 3
by the
days.
time they got here, it's mid-morning.
Yeah,
10 o'clock or something
yeah.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our ops guys are on the field, they start at 6:30, they're out in the field, before 7 usually,
Yeah,
or around 7. So for them to stop their work at wherever they are to come back and then.
Yeah, that's tough.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's tough. So it's the way that, it's the setup, and the way we operate, it's just, it wasn't a good match.
Yeah, and so I'll follow up with San Marcos Promise and go, it just doesn't work really well for us. And maybe we figure out something else. We did have students come here and do a tour. And that was one day, and it was, it was achievable, it was doable, and there was some good interaction there. And I'm not sure why, but those students that came on that tour were much more engaging than the smaller group, which was
Okay.
odd, and I can't explain it.
I think we're really set up well for like 1-day tours or an internship program where it's over several weeks, somebody could go with different groups and experience, because the workload that our guys do isn't necessarily, on Tuesdays we do this, on Thursdays we do, it's depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So,
Okay, well, that's really good feedback and you were a great sport about it, about taking it on, so thank you. Sounds like the logistics are, at least for this time frame and this level of student and this number of student, it's just not workable. But maybe, like you suggested, maybe there's a way to do it differently in the summer. Fewer students, targeted students that are interested in a specific, because I mean, one of the things that I'm really proud of about this committee is that we've made a real emphasis on recruiting people from the community, educating them about working here and how this is a good job. They could work here, raise a family here. So let's not completely shut it down just yet.
yeah,
But let's see if there's maybe some ways to work the logistics that aren't so hard
yeah,
for us.
Yeah.
That benefits the students that, that want to be
Yeah.
here. And at this point, I'll also say I met a teacher at High Tech High over the weekend. And I mentioned this program. I didn't, because I was just coming off the heels of reading your post and
Sure.
commenting on your post. And he was going to pass it on to the high school. He was a middle school teacher. But I was talking to him about Vallecitos. He was like, yeah, you're selling me on working out myself, actually.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, maybe somebody might hear from High Tech High about
that's all good.
participating in something like
I
this.
remember
too.
we did something for High Tech High, their engineering group had a project they were working on that was going to some competition, remember that?
That was a robotics thing. wasn't it?
Robotics thing, they came in and they worked with our engineering team. I met with them.
That's cool.
Jason met with them
Yeah,
before he went to live in Hangback. This is a while ago.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And we worked with them. We were there with them for a couple hours.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
really bright. I mean, they're writing code and they're doing
That's
like
great.
robotics and.
Well, I told him to just send me an email to keep the connection,
Yeah.
figure out if there was some way that we could do something together. I'm really happy to hear that we've done.
Yeah, we've done work with them in the past.
So if I get that email, I'll forward to
Yeah.
you all.
Yeah, definitely
Okay.
CC Chris, please.
Yes, okay, but yeah, thank you for this feedback. And not everything that we do works.
Yes.
It just doesn't.
Yes.
So-
Yeah, it didn't play to our strength.
Yeah.
Well, it's still worth trying now, we know. And
Absolutely.
and if San Marcos Promise is willing to kind of
Yeah. Change
reorganize
your
the
model.
logistics, maybe we can figure out.
Like the two finance students. Come one day for an hour.
Yeah, maybe they
No.
could shadow Wes for
Yeah.
like half a day as a fall. I'm just gonna
But
stop talking.
you see what I'm
about
saying?
something.
You know, just,
That's what you-
short little thing, you know?
There's no volunteer West yet.
Yeah, I know.
Let's talk to him first.
And Wes came in, he was
good.
he came in to do that specifically,
Yeah.
which was good of Wes to do that because
Mhm.
he was having some family stuff, but he showed up for that.
Well, good. Well, thank you for doing that. It sounds like, there needs to be a few changes. It doesn't, it's not a bad idea on paper. I
It's
think it
not.
just needs to be, the logistics have to work for us
Yeah.
because, that's a long time for us to have a loss of productivity too. Especially if, we're not sure that the students are really that interested. We want the students here that are interested, that'll be most beneficial, because then they'll go back and they'll talk to their parents about how great their experience was, and
Right.
there's a bit of
Yeah.
a ripple.
And like I said, we're gonna be losing 30 to
That's
35
right.
Yeah.
employees.
I think we should talk about that at every opportunity that we engage with young people.
And matter of, if even in our strategic plan, that's one of our goals, because there's so many people leaving our industry more than interning.
Mhm, mhm, yeah. Well, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Everyone?
I did email Chris and meant to CC you on it now that, but
Can we do that? You can, because it's just two of us,
just
right?
right. San Diego EDC is offering they pay for internship from a technical perspective, so engineer. And it's over the course of a semester, and so it's good opportunity maybe for Jason or Ed to have intern for them that's
Mhm.
paid external and
Mhm.
managed externally and at a
That's
higher
good.
technical level.
Mhm.
So I sent you that reference for it, but I'll.
That's good. Yeah, send it to me.
Well,
That's great.
I
That's-
got it.
that's
And I
great.
pushed it on to Glenn and said, hey, we can do this, but let me know what you need to do. So.
And especially if they're
That's what
paying
it's called.
for it,
Yeah.
then someone's getting paid for their time, which is
Yeah.
something that we've talked about and sort of struggled with. So.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, CSU San Marcos Senior Graduate Experience Update.
So I can't remember what my previous update talked about, but I did have the students here, met them all, liked them all a lot. And really appreciated them coming here, meeting me and me showing them the yard.
Okay,
And I need to give shout outs to the collection staff. The collection staff are really good, they're good speakers on behalf of our organization. And they happen to be coming into the yard and, hey, can you talk to them about this vehicle that you've got right here?
was it Vector? The Vector?
It was actually the camera truck,
Okay,
so, but then Craig took them over to the factory.
okay.
So, and who else came by? I think it was Dennis. So I was able to show them and they actually kind of saw, here's the cars coming back in. They were here late in the day. And which kind of vehicles are these and what is their function? And since that point, Janelle from accounting has provided additional information to me to pass on about our fuel usage, both diesel and gasoline. And they had some queries about what was our power requirements. And the crux of it is we've kind of maxed out what's coming in from SDG&E. There isn't a every bit of power we get from SDG&E we use. So that's,
Our circuits are full.
yeah, all circuits are busy, right? All circuits are full. So I still get I signed up for the CARB, California Air Resources Board newsletter. And so I get notifications from them when there's different items. And so I just continually push towards them and say, hey, here's the latest on this, take a look, have a look at it. Anytime there's legislative committees, I do some legislative stuff on CARB and how it impacts the water agencies. As soon as I get it, I push it on to the students. So
Okay,
we're up to speed with them. They've been taking action and we've provided the information that we have. So
what
just
is,
more of a status update.
okay, what is their timeline? Is it the end of the semester? Is
Yeah, I
that-
sort of think so, but probably a little before the very end.
Okay.
There was a date and I may have it somewhere, but I'm not, completely dialed in on when they're done with school.
Are they going to present, is the plan for them to present to the full board or?
I think that would be ideal, and I
think
think
so
I
too.
did ask for that.
That's what I recall.
Yeah,
So we'll have to, when we get close, we'll have to.
yeah, because
vet that out.
their sequence may not match out really well with the board's sequence. I don't know. So
Okay. Okay,
have to do it
well, I'm
differently.
looking forward to that. That'll be.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of work, so.
Yeah.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing it.
and they were all males, but a bright group.
Not that those are mutually exclusive.
Right. Right?
Good.
You sounded
You
almost-
were brothers.
you almost sounded surprised when you said that.
They knew what they were dialed in pretty well.
Good.
And sometimes when you get the question, you're like, he knows what he's talking about, he's
Yeah.
not just throwing stuff at the wall, hoping he sounds smart.
Good.
He's thought deeper into this problem.
Okay, any other things to add for that? Okay, we'll keep looking for their work and the updates. All right, the Jeep Betty Ferguson event.
So, I think what would really work out is Public Service Week, and it starts on May 7th and goes through the week. I think the board meets a week prior, so I was thinking, well, maybe I could do it before the board meeting
Yeah, first Wednesday is what?
is the third.
Yeah.
So, but Public Service Week is this week, and it plays out well, just to point out. Betty Ferguson had a career in public service, and so did the Jeep.
Mm,
And
mhm.
so that's the week that makes it ideal. But just wanted thoughts on, what works good for the committee's schedule, because we could do it any one of those days. And you don't have to answer me today, but I'd like to get this booked. I'd like to get some publicity.
And you
That's,
talked to her family, right?
Well, that's who I want to let know,
Okay,
because we told them this week, but we haven't told them a day and a time.
the Aqua's spring conference that everyone's going to is May 9th through 11th. And then also the P3 meeting plus the other committee meetings plus the traditional board meetings.
A week prior.
Correct.
We could maybe do it the week before and say, in anticipation of Public Service Week
Would we do it, maybe prior to the board meeting? Like,
on the 3rd.
yeah, as long as.
We could do it that way, and we can play it that way.
We don't have a closed session, I will know.
We
I'm sorry,
probably
can
will.
you- I'm sorry. what-
Oh, I said, could we maybe do it, because that week is Aqua. Later that week, we could maybe do it in anticipation, since the board will be together for the board meeting.
Yeah,
Or even have a, maybe even have a little break right before the board meeting to do something.
So on the day of the board meeting, that's what you're saying?
Well,
Yeah.
possibly, you will have to still vet it
yeah,
to make sure it works, but that could be a possibility since the board's here already.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so hard for me to get here on the
Earlier.
days of the board meetings for 4 o'clock.
Yeah,
It
no, I'm
is
not,
really tough.
I'm saying if we don't have a closed session, this would be
Okay.
10 minutes, 15 minutes before the board meeting.
Okay.
We
Well,
have-
We could do it as part of the board meeting and kind of walk out.
That's true, we could do it as part of the board meeting.
why don't, because we talked about, having kind of a dedication and having people speak.
Yeah, yeah,
So I thought that this was going to be not quite at the same level as the Don McDougal
Yeah.
event, but something that was separate with fanfare, with her family present, if they're able to come and, maybe have some speakers. That will extend the board meeting, of course, and there's no place for the public to really go if we just walked out. Although I like that idea. I'm in favor of doing it as a separate event,
okay.
just for that reason. That was what I was thinking we were going to do, but I'm open to suggestions.
Well, If we do it as a separate event, we have time, and even if it's not during public service week, it can still be done. So that takes the pressure off, and we can just work with the board to find a mutually beneficial time that works for everybody, instead of trying to shoehorn it in.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know that there was that activity going on that way.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a week.
So if the committee's okay with that suggestion, I think that would actually make it easier for staff than trying to shoehorn it in, because at that point, we're really gonna take away from the significance of the event. Because it's just gonna be this 10-15 minute thing, we gotta run back to the board.
Yeah.
Or it'll be after the board meeting, and a lot of people won't come, stick around.
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
June through August.
Yeah, so there's nothing that ties it to that. I understand the tie, but I think to do it right.
It's clever, you know what I mean, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Well, I
So-
mean, to do it right, though, I think we need to wait.
Yeah,
think there's a
so
public works week. Which is May 18th to 24th.
is there a day of women in water? Does that
Yeah.
exist?
In May.
Get started.
We could start it. We could start it.
Are you part of the women water group with Aqua?
I am, and
I wonder if there's any conversation.
and frankly, the meetings have been so crowded lately.
Been a lot of minutes.
With not women. that I just
Well,
haven't
you
gone
know,
the last
when I
one.
first started going, when I first going to
I
Aqua,
can see all these tall men in the front. I'm like,
when we first started going to it, the women would meet, and then they started inviting the men
Yeah.
to meet. Too,
mm,
so,
they had a good speaker 2 aquas ago. I didn't go to the last one though, because I just like couldn't get in.
yeah. It gets crowded. It used to be, it'd be at the same time as Calvisa or something, so
Yeah.
it was split. And I think last time it was separate.
Mhm.
It's like this one ending down and starts, and like I went from one to the other.
Yeah, which I think is good, because I think that they should open it up to everybody. They should just anticipate the crowds a little bit better.
So National Public's Work Week is May 21 through 27.
Yeah, I don't think we need to make a decision here at the meeting unless it's definitive, because I want to make sure that the whole board could be represented.
Sure.
We only have 2 board members here for schedule.
True.
But are we in agreement that this could be an event that we want to have our family, we want to have speakers, we want to have, I mean, I don't think a ribbon cut, something that sort of denotes the, the pomp and circumstance of the event and really celebrates. So I don't know if we're having like a plaque dedication or, something. I'm not sure exactly, but my point of reference is the Don McDougal event.
Right.
And that was a really nice event. It was very touching. People spoke, and people came, from, parts of Dawn's life that were with the district and her family.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
So if we could do something to honor Betty in that way and unveil the Jeep, and that we've got the Jeep is named after her, I think that would be really,
If that's the community's pleasure and direction, that's what we can start moving forward, and then obviously provide the full border report, but that's what we can start moving forward as staff with.
what do you think?
I think it's a great idea. I like the concept of commemorating her service here in a singular event that would mean a lot to her family, no doubt about it. And doing fun stuff like revealing the Jeep under a sheet would be really
I like that.
cool.
Yeah,
The sheet would be-
yeah.
Like when you
Yeah.
buy a new
Yeah.
Lexus,
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah.
So, just little things go a long way, and no doubt she had a major impact on this whole facility and all the people in it. So
Yeah.
So of course, I wouldn't worry right now at this meeting to try and button down a time. We'll have to figure out what we want to do for it. There might be logistics, like if we're gonna get a plaque or something like that, that may take some time.
The signs are down there now.
Yeah.
So there's one sign for the Jeep and one sign for Betty.
Oh, good, okay.
Yep. But we'll figure out the logistics of what we want to do, maybe Glenn and I.
Okay.
And then from there, we could start working with the board on what makes sense the
Okay.
first time.
But I think we've got a framework that we're all aligned with,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, and you think that's appropriate, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, that could work out with the timing is, she was pretty big out in Lake San Marcos. And if I can put it in their quail call that, hey,
Oh, yeah, the
we're doing
quail
this
call, yeah.
event.
Yeah, that's a good
You
idea.
And if you were a friend of Betty, why don't you come to it? We can get more juice than if it's
Yep, absolutely.
just,
A lot of people have moved from Lake San Marcos to the Chateau.
oh, okay,
So I don't know if they have
okay,
a newsletter too, but the Chateau and the Meridian have a
Gotcha.
lot of folks that are,
yeah,
that as that neighborhood turns over, they're
Sure.
moving from Lake San Marcos to the Chateau and Meridian. And those are folks that probably knew Betty, remember Betty, so that's, if there's a way to do that too.
Sure.
maybe.
Sure.
Or just, maybe they've got like a place where you can post a notice or something.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would like to have people that would come and speak about that.
Yeah.
That's what will make it.
I think that's,
Yeah.
I think that will be very moving, and I think her family would appreciate that too.
Yeah.
hearing
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Good.
Well, wonderful. Okay, well, thank you. That sounds like that's moving along. The San Marcos Chamber of Commerce Spring Festival yesterday.
Yeah, so that was yesterday. That was a long day.
Oh, was it? It was a
Yeah.
gorgeous day.
Well, I refereed soccer on Saturday, so, and it was 16-year-old boys and they're big and strong and fast,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you know. Trying to keep up with them is something for an old man to do. So, you know, I was dragging from the one and then dragging from the other. The one thing I will tell you though, is I did talk to a lot of people about jobs. And so supposedly. People are going to email me this week with questions or further comments. Some were people where they were hoping their spouse would pursue a career.
Okay,
So that happened several times.
these are just passersby. that-
Yeah, but the other thing too is you interact a little bit with the other booths.
Okay,
And so the woman from the sports clips place was like, hey, my husband's taking classes at Palomar. You know, have him give me a call. Here's
Yeah.
my card.
great.
You know,
great.
have him reach out. But you know, I had several women as well asking about jobs.
Mhm.
And so I'm hoping they will follow up.
Mhm.
Give them my business card,
Yeah,
give
that's
me a
fine.
call, you know, I'll talk to you about it. I'll hook you up with Palomar College. But there's other types of careers here too. You know, there's a lot of things we can talk about.
Mhm.
So that's real positive. This is more for James, but Ivan was at Dawn's event. And Ivan is one of the staff that works at Metal Garden.
Okay,
And he got up there and spoke. And I'm watching him speak, I'm like, man, he's good. And his comment was, you know, this is a dedication ceremony. And that's the perfect word for it, because Don was so dedicated. And I was like, whoa, why didn't I think of that? He came out, he wanted to work in a community event, so he was with us the whole day. And I think he had just come off, you know, being the duty guy, which, you know, is challenging in its own right.
Mhm.
And he was there the whole day, and Ivan was great. Yeah, yeah.
Ivan, he always has a big smile.
yeah,
Shorter gentleman.
Yeah.
Always got a big smile
okay,
and big heart.
very good.
What I was impressed with was he was admitting that it's challenging for him to sit and talk to people. That it's hard for him to do that.
This was a,
Because he kind of goes, you know, you just kind of chat with people like that. And I was like, yeah, you know, it's all fun. It's good. And he's like, I need to tell you that, you know, that's a little challenging.
it was hard for
Yeah.
him, but he did it.
Yeah, he's sticking his neck out.
So
So
he told me he wanted to get involved to give him more exposure to like doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
yeah, this is a while ago he told me, I'm glad he connected. with
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So.
yeah, fun to have a different face out there.
Yeah,
and a different perspective that people, you know, he might be able to draw in folks that wouldn't
Absolutely.
ordinarily stop by.
He was great.
Good,
you know,
Fantastic.
send Ed
And I'll send Matt.
And
Yeah,
Matt,
yeah.
that'd
good.
be awesome.
Okay, well,
And you
great.
gave away all the points.
It was all the plan.
You always
The
give away
Pats
our
go
points,
away like
right?
pumpkins.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, and there was these Echeverias that were kind of big, you know, kind of a,
Yeah.
and it was weird because everybody would pick around those. And we'd keep consolidating plants up, and then like at the end of the day, there's like 20 of those ones, like nobody was picking them. And I was like, I was texting Lisa, I was like, yeah, we need to screen those out. Nobody likes the jade either. There's some plants you realize nobody wants
It's
that,
a great conversation starter. It goes a long way to public to.
right?
see that.
Yeah,
Yep.
great.
And Lisa did a great job putting those together. She puts them together right here. I go into her office, it's like, I'm like,
Wow.
we need to get you an outdoor space.
Yeah, a little bit.
There's dirt.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, it's got dirt and stuff.
She's so, she's so
Don't
amazing.
get polished.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
that was me for once, you know, it's usually Lisa that's doing that with social media, but every once in a while I have to pinch in. So if it looks clumsy and bad, it was probably me.
No, I saw the post, it looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was Ivan sitting.
That was Ivan, yeah.
That's how you know.
Okay, anything else on that?
Nope.
Okay. Number 6, I am glad to see this. I'm glad we're talking about it. Water supply conditions, discuss moving to level 1 voluntary.
Yeah, so today's the big snow survey day.
Yep.
And there's gonna be information rolling out
They
from
posted the picture
today.
yet?
And you know, and everything is looking good. Some of the agencies have up in Northern California have dropped out of the level 2 condition. The governor basically
Yeah, the
kind of
executive
allowed
order
it.
came,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the 24th.
So my plan was to put together a packet. I'd like to see MWD and the Water Authority push some stuff out first.
Okay.
I don't know that it's a good idea for us to get ahead of them,
No
but
problem.
you know, the plan is at this point to drop to a level 1 voluntary drought condition.
This will probably be on the agenda for our next meeting.
Yes. that's
Maybe-
the plan.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's gonna, it won't be on the next one, it'll be the meeting after, right?
On the 19th.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 19th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we should have enough, we should have more.
We're hoping.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and don't be surprised if you guys ever get approached by public, we have all this rain, why is there any type of drought? Because, yeah, I don't think most public won't realize that most of the water comes from the Colorado system. And that system is still, we need several years like this, but our system.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I prepped all the staff for yesterday. This is what we're gonna get.
Mhm.
This is what's coming our way. Didn't happen at all.
Well, I've seen,
Nobody,
I've seen
nobody.
social media posts
Yeah.
already from, I don't even know the individuals that say, I don't want to hear that we're in a drought ever again. Look at all the rain but they also don't realize that we get 80% of our water from the Colorado system and that those lakes are still at 25%.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
So,
I mentioned it the last meeting, but like the D word is, it loses meaning when we like associate it too much with this. It's kind of like the cancer warnings everywhere, right? Like cancer is not warning on cigarettes. Great, like people stop smoking, but now they see cancer, everything gives you cancer and it kind of loses meaning. So like, it's important to remember that the conveyance of messaging here is like, we're doing better. Let's focus on that part instead of like level 1 drought. Like,
that's a good chance this year that Metropolitan will end up getting over 50, maybe 7% of the water from Northern California. We're at least 1 year, but the San Diego mixture with the Imperial irrigation water from the QSA, we'll still be maybe 30% of our water from Northern California. The rest will still be coming from Colorado, just because that's where our water is set.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm looking forward to seeing the snowpack picture, because I haven't seen that posted yet.
so I was up in Mount when they broke the record. We woke up, there was 3 feet of snow against the condo Airbnb that we rented.
Oh, mhm.
We couldn't even get out. We had luckily somebody did a trail. They did a trail, so I had 3 kids walking through the snow. For me, it was up to my knees. For them, it was up to here.
yeah.
It was quite challenging,
Yeah.
but it was amazing. Good. So,
There are times like that where you appreciate snowshoes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep,
my ski boots were just sinking in the ground.
yep, yep.
I was dying. I was unzipping everything. So,
Okay, so we'll see that on an upcoming full board agenda.
yeah,
And we'll be talking about it further. I think it is an opportunity, as Director Grosset said, that we can start, we can make sure that if we're getting calls, that we're explaining the nuance. And, we do use level 1 and level 2 drought, but making sure that we explain what that exactly means. And that, the executive order came through, I think on the 24th. I tried to read it this morning and it's very long, but
Right.
I was sort of like, just cut to the chase. What is
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
But I think we do a good job of explaining to the public that are interested. Not everybody's interested, and you have the people that just are, kind of saying what is obvious, but the level of sophistication is not. It's just a lack of understanding.
that's all it is.
Yeah, so I think let's keep trying to explain it. Let's keep trying to be prepared when we get those calls. And it is good news that we might be moving to level 1, but as always, we should always try to conserve water. That's the right thing to do.
7-page executive order.
Right.
It was lengthy.
Yeah.
And the basic just says that we're in good shape and we could, we can rescind the previous
Yeah,
executive order.
the 15% curtailment, I think is,
Exactly.
voluntary, is we don't have to do that anymore. Okay, anything else on that?
Nope.
Okay, great. So we'll look forward to seeing that on a full board agenda.
Yeah.
On the 19th tentatively. Okay, scholarships, great.
Yeah.
Okay. Good
Here's
reveal.
your
Okay,
listings.
How many do we have?
So it looks like 20,
Okay,
I think, right? It's not 20. I should just like remember them.
so we had 13 last year.
Yeah, you're right, I think.
Yeah,
Oh, yay, we got somebody from Foothills. That's fantastic. I'm so glad.
yes,
I'm glad. I mentioned that I stopped by and gave them a personal invitation and reiteration that this was open.
there you go.
Okay, good.
One thing I noticed with these is like everybody's I did follow up with certain people. Like, okay, you did everything, but you didn't give me a financial needs worksheet, so submit that.
Okay,
So I was just, I just
so it's
carried
gonna be
out
a harder decision.
my stuff on my, yeah, so it's gonna be a little harder. There's one, if you look on financial needs, it says on the app. Rather than a separate page, they just kind of put it on their application page.
Okay,
They're just in the order they arrived, so this
Okay.
is not alphabetical. I just kept putting their names in. And
So
so,
wondered on here, here's row 2 in row 9.
yeah, all right,
So that's one less to pick from. That's good news.
yeah, good for you. I think that must have been a follow-up.
Unless there's an error and there's another name that's supposed to be.
No, I don't think so. I think she might have been, because she got in early and I was like, hey, you didn't give me this and you didn't give me this. And you
Okay.
didn't give me this.
Got it.
And then I think I got it again. So,
So we got- we have a few people that are not studying water.
yeah,
and
quite a few.
maybes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and a few where I put maybe because,
Okay.
you know, it was,
Close.
you could make a case for it.
Okay.
Like they were gonna study biology, but with an environmental,
Well, but that's part of our
Yeah,
mandate too,
exactly.
you know, it's
So,
water or
yeah.
environmental studies.
so, and that's for the committee to, this is just a sheet to help you, that's all it is.
Okay,
I will put them in this sequence. Not everybody, some people sent their documents separately, some consolidated them.
oh, boy.
But what I'll do is I'll give you a combined document for each student
Okay, thank you.
in this sequence with the app first, the letter of recommendation next, the essay next, and then the financial needs worksheet. So that when you're looking at them, they're all in the same kind of sequence.
I
Okay,
think we talked about moving it to 7, but is it 6 for this or is it 7?
I think it was 6,
sorry.
but I think we
6.
ged more last time because.
Oh, the amount,
Yeah,
yes. Yes, we gave more last time because we didn't have,
We didn't have 6.
we didn't have all of the criteria.
yeah. If you want to circle Evan Fox is our Palomar intern. He's out with Corey Harrell today doing Corey does.
Fog.
Oh, that's
That's
what
all.
That's
what
what
they were
it
saying.
is.
They were saying it was a guaranteed one for him plus 6 was the discussion, if I recall correctly.
Then we would set aside one for the intern that's.
That's right,
interning.
yes.
Is it set aside one or add one?
Well, that's what I don't know. We'll have to double check with the board. It was at the board meeting, correct?
I believe
Yeah,
so,
we'll have to double check what the board action was on that and then,
Okay.
whatever it is. But when we come back to you, we could let you know whether we're giving out
Okay.
6,000, 6 or 7.
Yeah.
That's really the question.
Yeah.
Because I remember the discussion, I don't remember the outcome.
Yeah, and the crux of it was there's, it's hard to get students to be able to. Do this amount of work for no pay.
Mhm.
And Palomar says they'll match us on that. So
That's right.
if we give $1,000 to the student's intern, Palomar will match us.
Is that for everyone or just the intern?
For the intern? Yes, that wins the scholarship per se, so.
For Evan, it could be a $2,000 scholarship.
Yeah.
That's essentially a
From
block
sources.
there. And
Yeah.
then the question is there 6
5.
remaining or 5?
Yeah. And the other thing too is. We may want to carry one forward to a fall internship. And that's for the committee and the board to consider.
Are we currently set up just as a yearly annual?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, but that may be something we want to do. I think it works out well to go ahead and give that student. That's interning with us
Yep.
a scholarship. And I think when I looked at Evans, I think he even put down that. He had to go buy some work boots for himself, so.
Okay,
Assuming he's a good intern.
He's good.
I'm not saying.
Okay. good.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, but I'll just send them singularly. Because it's gonna be a big file, because it's PDFs, so I'm gonna send you. Each case in hand,
You sent 18 or 19 different emails?
yes. I can't fit them all on one.
Is there,
It won't go out of our system,
Yeah.
I wonder,
and I can't turn it into one document either. When you're scanning, it doesn't like to get it to that size, because some sent hard copy.
I wonder, and this might open a can of worms, but I wonder, if we're going to do this going forward, which it sounds like this is a this is a popular program. I mean, people like this, the community likes it, it benefits students. Would it be worth building out a portal for them to log into?
We probably can, whether
And
it's
upload
portal or
it.
just using, I forgot what the name of which one might, yeah. Or like basically or even if we get it, we could put it into a certain area.
Yeah, even Google for them.
Yeah, exactly. We could go into a certain area where the board members have access to
Yeah.
review it. We can work with IT on that. This time around, we'll go and send it to you.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
prep it for maybe next time around.
And then they can be responsible for uploading their documents, and if they don't upload it.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to follow up.
Yeah.
They can just,
Well, I did get one from Google Forms, and so it's like, click on the link, open the Google Forms,
Yeah.
open the Google Forms. And it's going, well, you don't have access to it.
yes.
What? And then I
that's-
realized Google Forms knows my home email address and not my
Yeah.
work email address. And the guy had probably accessed it to my work email address. And there's some chasing around on that, but
Okay.
I finally got it figured out.
But
Let's
there's-
make this as easy as
There's
possible
other,
for
like,
us.
there's others ones that we've used before, that's a big,
Airtable or jot forms, either one of those,
Yeah.
or universal one would work more well and really easy to put together.
and for all I know, and this may, I mean, I don't. Not the way we go, Matthias might say it's really easy for us to have a portal on our website, for people to drop down PDFs on or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
That's-
yeah.
that's fine too. So we'll have to do it, but this time around we'll send it to you and then
Okay,
I'll have Chris
you.
talk with Matthias, and if there's an easy way.
Okay,
Yeah.
the learning process.
Yeah.
Yep, okay,
Oh, not if we're gonna get more and more of these, it'll be more essential with it free up Chris's time.
a lot of mission applicants, that's great, they must have promoted it really well there.
Yeah,
Okay, good,
and two from St. Joseph. I didn't even know where that was.
okay. Okay, well, wonderful, we will look for those emails.
Yeah.
Anything else about this? And then the hard work begins, and last year, the way it worked is, Director Pennock and I were pretty much aligned on most of them.
Mm.
And then we had a separate meeting and just chatted about, picking them. But it would be helpful to know, are we picking 6?
Yep.
And, our intern is a shoo-in, or are we picking? Like, how are we?
Yeah,
doing that?
I'm
Because-
gonna have Anthony send an email out to the committee. He'll double check the board and the board action.
Cause I can't remember what we budgeted also, because that's the thing, we can't, we put in budget for this specific purpose. so-
Sure, so for all I know, the discussion is let's budget for more next year, but since we have the budget this year, or if the board amended the budget, that's what we're gonna figure out.
Okay,
So in other words, the discussion may have been, let's have 7 total, include the intern. But let's keep the budget this year the way it is, which means that's next year's budget. So we'll figure out however it is, whatever the board action is, we'll get back to you on it.
okay,
And we'll send you an email out,
That'd be great.
hopefully by the end of the week.
Just to be clear, are we picking them or the total board?
we pick them.
You make the
Okay. And
recommendation.
then, should there be predefined criteria that we should go off of?
There are, it hasn't, we don't have a matrix or a rubric
Yeah.
developed because I didn't want it to be that onerous.
Yeah.
But the criteria are, originally it was enrolled in one of the 4 public high schools.
Got it.
Enrolled at Palomar, enrolled at CSUSM. So the high school students can take their scholarship and go anywhere. As long as they're studying water, wastewater, or the environment. Palomar or CSUSM students needed to be studying water or something that's environmentally related.
Yep.
And that provides some flexibility because there aren't that many water specific programs,
Mhm.
but that's the idea. So
So that's a prerequisite, so.
yes, and that is in all of the information that goes out.
Yeah.
With, the invitation to apply, it's all over the website, so. you know, I get it, you know, because when I was a student, I was trying to get every penny as well. So I applied for scholarships that I was not qualified for. But to me, that eliminates all but 9 on here that I can see so far. It's the yeses and the maybes that they're interested in water.
Director Grosso, would you like us to send you the application requirements for that the students see? We kind of,
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
we have that. right?
then the
Yeah.
one question I had is that it seemed like when Director Boyd Hodgson asked about it, there was some maybes beyond maybe that exist in the nose still, or no.
I think, you know, there were some students where their career was nursing, you know, and you're gonna go, okay, that's nursing.
Got it. So there's no except.
I do not recall that we specifically said that a high school student couldn't get it if they didn't go water.
The intent of the scholarship is for someone studying water or the environment. Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
That is the intent of it.
Yeah. And I think if we look at all the folks that are the yeses or the maybes, and maybe we don't have people that we want to select, then I think we can go outside.
Yeah.
But I think that also, that opens up, you know, we're elected officials.
Yeah.
We're not school counselors.
Yeah.
So I think that having set criteria and standing by them should be something that we do
Right.
first, and then we can talk about flexibility otherwise.
Got it.
And the committee does have that flexibility, what they recommend to the board, because last year we didn't have enough applicants, so then larger scholarship was awarded
That's
to the
right.
applicants. That
Got
were- So ideally, if you find an applicant that fits the criteria for each one of those schools, great. But if you don't, then there's a separate discussion the committee can have for their full recommendation.
Mhm.
Got
And we also didn't have a student apply from every high school, so
Right.
we ended up awarding 2 to
This is the
Palomar.
best
Yeah.
year yet.
Yeah.
This is the best year yet.
Great.
Year 2, yeah,
Year
Yeah.
2,
year
best year
2,
yet, better than last year, yeah.
yeah.
So
Continual improvement.
And maybe I can send you an updated matrix, because I'll delete Kira Cook because she's there twice.
okay,
Maybe I can put what it was that they intended to study.
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Good idea.
that may, because there's some things where you're like, well, you know, if they're gonna pursue IT, you know, we have IT staff,
Mhm.
you know, so is that a maybe? I don't know, maybe you just want to know what it is,
Mhm.
so.
So was biology included as a yes?
I think biology I had as a maybe.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, you can make a case for it.
And we're going to see all the applications.
you're gonna see
We'll we'll see everything.
Yeah.
This is not what we're basing our decision on.
Yeah, it's
We have the
just
opportunity to
tool.
go in and review
Perfect.
everything that was submitted by every student.
Excellent. Excellent.
So, yeah, okay, well, great. So then we'll look for those emails and can start working through them. And it's really hard because, you know, they all want to study, they all need money, and it's really hard to make the decision. But unfortunately, we have to set, you know, some criteria just so that it's not completely subjective.
Sure.
To, you know, I mean,
Yeah, we want the.
my kid's gonna probably study theater and he's not gonna apply for this, right? So,
Yeah, we want it to be fair and objective as possible,
Yeah,
so
that's right.
it keeps the integrity of the scholarship.
That's right.
So, and Chris, the fact that we got almost double the applicants is amazing. So,
great promotion. So thank you for getting the word out.
Good.
Okay, I think that's it.
that's it.
All right, we are adjourned.
Great.
Thank you.